Hey there, everybody. How's it going? Welcome back to another awesome episode of On the Throttle with Jacqui Van Ham and my buddy Josh Trokey out here bringing you all of the breaking news and stories and things and stuff that are going on out here in motorcycling and power sports. Got another great episode for you today. As always, thanks for clicking, liking, sharing, subscribing, doing all of the things, all of the stuff, no matter where you are watching out there, either off of our parent website, motorcyclepowersportsnews.com, which you should be going and checking out anyway, or we are also pretty active over on the Facebook and on YouTube. Now, let's go ahead and jump on into today's show. In my neck of the woods, I'm going to be talking about a cat named Erik that indeed seems to have way more than 9 lives, and talking all about a monster that is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Josh, what you got going on in your neck of the woods?
See, I initially thought it was about me until you said 30th, and then I realized the number was way off. To me, there's one story first off from the MPN website about Greenger partnering with DRT Racing, which is an interesting one I'm super pumped about. And then I've got a dirty Ducati story, which it's not what you think, but we'll get into it.
Well, I can't wait to hear what you have got to say, as always, Josh, but we're going to have to wait after this word from our sponsor. So, as I mentioned at the very top of the program, I'm talking about a cat named Erik that indeed seems to have way more than 9 lives. And if you are a fan of motorcycling in general, no matter what genre you are in, this man has been involved in it, and that's Mr. Erik Buell, of course. Erik Buell has been making news the last handful of years for a couple different reasons, one of which, though, is some e-bike news that has been floating around out here. And we've broken the news here on the show, talked about a couple of different things that he's been working on, but I have been waiting for this emoto type bike to come out. And indeed, there is more details this week from the folks over at Fuell. That's right, Erik Buell's new project is called Fuell. But that being said, the fuel that those bikes run off of is actually electricity. This is an e-bike project for Mr. Erik Buell. I believe one of the first that he has been involved in. So the slide on your screen is showing you indeed the very, very cool bike that has been floating around on the internet for, I don't know, Josh, what do you think? I think we're going on like 2 years of this floating around now. Yeah, it's been going on for a while now. And now it indeed is happening, Josh. It is actually really here. It is not a mystery any longer. Following its significant validation success on prelaunch.com, Fuell Fllow, which is what's on your screen right now, versus a smaller e-bike that was also released and talked about this past year, the e-commuter of the future, designed by the legendary engineer Erik Buell, is now opening pre-orders. Leveraging his decades of experience, that's real talk right there, Erik Buell makes a stunning comeback, unveiling his visionary concept of futuristic urban e-commuter with seamlessly merging style, performance, and groundbreaking technology. I have thought for a while now, because this has been floating around on the internet for a hot minute. I thought this was just a really sharp look, a really good looking bike. It obviously is more of that emoto type platform versus the e-bikes that are a little bit more commonly seen today that hover around that, $2,000, $3,000 price tag. This is an actual e-moto, which means the range is going to be bigger, the speeds are going to be higher, and that price tag is going to be higher to match. And they did actually release some numbers this year, which I have been waiting for a really, really long time. Target price is going to be $12,995 with a range of 150 miles in real city traffic conditions. This has highway capable speeds. And what else is going on? That has a battery pack integrated into the chassis, which I thought that was interesting. The battery pack that's integrated into the chassis is actually towards the lower part of the middle part of that bike. It also does, of course, come with ABS. And then I'm going to go jump over to the website, because the website has way more details going on. I thought this was really interesting. Yeah, 150 miles is going to be the range. The power on this is approximately the equivalent of 47 horsepower. This is going to be super fast charging. It has a minutes charging time. This also has a 50-liter, that's right, 50-liter capacity of storage, because in the middle part of that motorcycle, or this emoto, where you would normally see a quote unquote gas tank, that entire area pivots up and is used for storage on this bike, which I love. E-bikes, e-motos, to me, the most appropriate usage for these types of vehicles is in city centers, used as mobility, used as delivery, used as commuter. And so I think that that is just such an incredibly clever design. The engine of this, as it were, is actually placed in the rear hub, which I think is another really interesting design feature of this. Just a really, really great looking, very cool machine. And right now it is offered for pre-order. The pre-order for this, which you can go track down at Fuell with two L's, FUELL.us. This is going to be released for pre-order for $9,995, if my memory serves me correctly, which is a very nice bit of savings over that $12,995, which is going to be the projected MSRP. So make sure you go check it out if you are indeed interested in this very cool machine from Mr. Erik Buell. Josh, what do you think about this very cool emoto from Erik Buell at Fuell?
That's a mouthful, isn't it? To me, it's a cool bike. I do like a lot of things about it, and the hub motor is one of those things that I go back and forth on, because that rear wheel hub motor, it adds a ton to the gyroscopic effect of it, makes it in a lot of cases very difficult to turn, things of that nature. But I mean, I'm going to trust the guy's judgment on this. You're right with this. These are not bikes that you're going to go off into the countryside on. This is a bike that you're riding to work. This is a bike that you're riding to the store. This is a bike that you're going places on. You have a destination with this. You're not going to get lost on it. And that is, I mean, I think it fits very well into that niche. The only thing that I see that might be difficult for it, as you mentioned, delivery. And e-moto, e-bikes, all of those are super hot for delivery. You've got that nice, we're going to call it a frunk right now, because that's what everyone calls the front trunks on things. But I'm not seeing much, right? I'm not seeing much of a way to do a rear rack on it. I'm sure someone will come up with something for it, but that to me might be the miss that hurts this. Overall, I think it's great, and especially the first orders are going to sell to Buell fans. I mean, look, the guy's got a following, and for good reason. But to me, there's a little bit of a miss there. But I think the utilitarian use of it. But I'm not worried about him selling out of the pre-orders. The name alone will sell it.
Yeah, this version obviously in my mind is very, very, very consumer centric. This is not really, I mentioned emotos as a delivery system because I think a lot of them have that capability. I don't really see that in the game plan for this. No. This is not the intent of this particular bike. Not with it. Keep the slide on the screen, Ashley. Not with that great looking dash up in the front. I mean, this is very, very consumer facing. The fact that frunk opens up and contains 50 liters of storage, it will fit a full face helmet and more. I think that's really what commuters need. I mean, that's pretty much it. Of course, some bags and other things, I'm sure somebody will jump on it and manufacture them, and that'll be coming later on down the road. But out of the gate, 50 liters of storage is pretty bananas. So I get where this is headed. I think at that price tag, I think it's really interesting, and it's right in the wheelhouse of where everybody's playing right now with these more like kind of, I don't want to say mid-size e-moto, but I mean, there's not really a word to categorize it yet. But the really big, huge sport bikes that are now like, $30,000, Energica and of that type, that is at the top end. Right now, this guy sits solid in the middle, and then the little e-bikes are, closer to $2,000. Right. Everybody that's in this space that makes bikes that go this fast, have this kind of range, they're all around 10,000. So he's right in the sweet spot. I also would like to take a second and point out that a very large as in most all, they're really proud of this bike is made in the US. So that's nice. A really very interesting cool. Kind of a neat tip off about this as well. So anywho, my first story today talking about Fuell from Mr. Erik Buell. Josh, what you got going on in your neck of the woods?
So, like I said, this is straight out of the MPN website, and that this, I mean, I was going to jump all over this. So Greenger partnered with DRT Racing. Now, Greenger is the company that makes the CRF E2, which is the first electric Honda CRF. That is the equivalent of a 50cc bike. But DRT Racing has taken that a step further. And once we take a peek at this, you will see it and you will fall in love with this for the reason that you see kids on supermotos. What is better than that to me? So there's a couple of very cool things with this. So there is the CRF E2. There is a conversion for this. There's also the G3S, which is the Greenger other bike that they have. It comes supermoto ready. And that is, once again, in that partnership with DRT Racing. The CRF E2 is basically a 50cc equivalent bike, except it's electric. I guess I should clarify that in this, is that is electric. The G3S is the equivalent of a 110cc bike, also electric. This bike, though, has a 55 mile an hour top speed. It also has inverted forks on it, which are good sized on this, and slightly bigger brakes. Now, these will be running with the AMA Supermoto Series August 8th at Sturgis, which is awesome to see. The fact that they will have these electric supermotos like this. To me, there's a couple of things that I find interesting with this, and I'm going to ask you about this here in a second. So I wanted to compare the G3S with the CRF 110. The G3S is 154 pounds. Believe it or not, the CRF 110, 170. The G3S, 55 miles an hour. The CRF 110, 40 miles an hour. So there's some kind of interesting differences here. Now, the cool thing that I will say about this is there's 3 stages on the G3S. On the first stage, you'll get about 5 hours of runtime out of it. It has a top speed of about 15 miles an hour. Stage 2, you get about 1.8 hours of runtime. You get about 30 miles an hour. Stage 3 is about a half an hour of runtime, but you get 55 miles an hour out of this bad boy. The battery is swappable in this, which is totally cool. Nice. It just had to be for an application like this. The charge time is about 3.5 hours for this battery. So if you are at the track running a 15-minute moto, you're never going to make it in between motos without a couple of batteries in the truck. The thing that I love about this is we are capturing that electric market easier and sooner, because these kids are getting on them and riding them super early. And so they're going to be used to these electrics. They're going to know what they're about. Electrics they do handle so differently. They do some things differently, especially backing it in a turn. You control that rear wheel on an internal combustion engine by feeding out clutch and downshifting. With this, it's going to be via regenerative braking and that brake lever that you've got that some of them have on the left-hand side. So what I see with this is, like I said, the swappable battery. We don't even need to talk about that. I know you're a big fan, but is this a good move to get the kids on these now, Jacqui? I see some pros and cons. What are your thoughts with that right off the bat, if I could?
Right away, I love this. I love Supermoto. I love Mini Moto. I support this 110%, of course. I'm going to have kind of the unpopular opinion here, possibly. I think that this is neat also because it lowers the bar to entry for a lot of kids. Not having to learn to shift, not having to learn some of the mechanics of motors of more traditional internal combustion engines. It just lets them get on and rip it and shred. And I think that that's what a lot of kids want to do, but maybe don't know how to go about learning how to do it. So I support this absolutely. I mean, it's the same reason I love the idea of e-bikes and e-moto for adults, for us big kids, is because it's so much more inclusive to everybody who might not be comfortable with shifting or might not be, all that kind of stuff. So I am here for it. I think it's fantastic. The specs you put down on these, 55 miles per hour, crazy.
Yeah,
crazy
you don't.
Town
I mean, to me,
kids.
I wouldn't need to hang onto the seat because I would have a firm grip on it and not with my hands. The thing, and I do kind of agree with you, that the thing that I like about these is the fact that it does it rather than the kids trying to learn everything at once, it does put them out there. It does let them learn a proper line, which, let's face it, that is the most difficult thing to learn. It lets them learn the line. It lets them learn the handling without having to worry about the extra stuff. Now, having to throw that in later, that's another skill that when do we start teaching that? And in 10 years, is that a relevant skill? We don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm all for these. I love seeing these, and these run about $4,700. And the other thing that I want to say is this is a great way for dad to get to go to the track, because dad gets to bring Junior along now.
There you go. Exactly. I like that about Supermoto anyway, and a lot of racing in general, especially, if they've got kids classes, it turns into like just such a family affair out there. And I am totally here for it. I love watching families race together in general. I think that's just a really good time. But yeah, I think that that's wonderful. And just to reiterate, I totally agree with you that it lets you focus more on the technique versus some of the mechanics that go on with motorcycling. Right. So this is a huge yes and a huge win for me. Awesome. High five. Congrats to everybody involved. And I hope they have a great week out at Sturgis. Now, before we jump into our second stories, I'd like to take a moment because we need to have a word from our partner.
ShowChrome is a leader in powersports accessories for 2, 3, and 4 wheels. For over 42 years, our R&D team has created innovative products for riders. We're releasing over 80 new products in 2023, featuring exciting products for Honda Goldwing, Can-Am Ryker and Can-Am Spyder, Polaris Slingshot, side-by-side and UTVs, and Ultra Guard covers for many powersports makes and models. Make sure you're staying in the loop. Sign up to receive new product releases at showchromeusa.com today.
Thanks again to our friends over at ShowChrome. Now, as I mentioned at the very top of the program, my second story for today, talking about a motorcycle that is celebrating its 30th anniversary. Josh, I do not know how 30 years has passed. This just feels like yesterday. And it is the Ducati Monster, this iconic bike that's been around for 30 years now. It's gone through several different changes. It's changed development. It's changed its style. Just a handful of tweaks over the course of those 30 years. That bike, when it did come out, the traditional Ducatisti were all up in arms about it because it was considered a little bit more of a straightforward, more of a little bit of a, I don't want to say entry-level bike for the folks at Ducati, but I will tell you, with talking with some of the folks who are insiders at Ducati, I've had the privilege of having conversations with them about this particular bike. 30 years ago, this machine on your screen, the Ducati Monster, literally saved Ducati from going out of business. At the time this motorcycle was released, they were in a little bit of dire straits financially. They needed to come up with a very approachable bike at a more approachable price tag, also utilizing some of the parts and things that they already had on hand. And thus, the Ducati Monster was born. And now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about this beautiful 30-year anniversary bike. The Bologna-based motorcycle manufacturers pays tribute to the motorcycle that changed the world of two wheels with a special model. This is the Monster 30-year anniversary version. It includes a tricolor livery celebrating Made in Italia and will be produced in a limited and numbered series of only 500 units. It is the lightest Monster ever thanks to benchmark components that enhance its sportiness and dynamic qualities. The Monster has always been a sporty engine, perfect for road use, chassis derived from the Superbike wide handlebars and no fairing. An idea as simple as it is effective, which made it possible to create the motorcycle that reinvented the naked segment and which over the years has evolved several times while always remaining faithful to the original idea. The special version also maintains the iconic features of the Monster models and unmistakable style and maximum fun on the road. Its true nature emerges at the very first glance thanks to the tricolor 30th anniversary livery, inspired by the sportiest monsters of the past. The livery celebrates Made in Italy, of course. It is green, white, and red. Of course, it has to be. It is embellished by the gold color of the rims, made specially just for this model. It does come with an Öhlins front fork. Other distinctive elements of this model are a seat embellished with an embroidered 30-year logo and the dedicated animation of the dash, which starts when the ignition is switched on. Finally, each motorcycle is made unique by a plate on the upper clamp with the model's name and number, certificate of authenticity, and dedicated motorcycle cover. I thought that this is just very, very cool. Talking about the weight, it allows it to arrive at a curb weight of 184 kilograms or 4 kilograms less than the standard model. So that's good news as well. Keep it nice and light. It does have 111 horsepower on board. Extremely functional and effective, the chassis of the new Monster transfers the inspiring principles of the Ducati Superbikes to a road bike. The engine is load-bearing, and a front frame is connected to it with conceptually recalls that of the Panigale V4. Just a really, really beautiful bike. All sorts of bells and whistles on this. The 3 ride modes, sport, road, and wet, allow the character to be shaped according to the rider's tastes and needs. It comes with that 4.3 color TFT dash. And it's just absolutely, really, really a very, very beautiful bike. Released for the 30-year anniversary. Josh, the Monster's been around 30 years. How old do you feel about that?
I feel like I should remember the Model T at this point. To me, what's kind of cool is, so the thing that I remember about this too is that, I mean, there's been naked bikes before the Monster, but Ducati did it with this flair and panache that only Ducati can. And they gave it this hooligan-esque attitude that was missing from naked bikes before it. And that is why bikes like the GSX 8S just came out. That is 30 years later, that is why that bike exists. The Aprilia Tuono, that is why that bike exists. If it wasn't for the Monster, those bikes wouldn't exist. And as you mentioned, the story that I've always, kind of been told and have read and seen, the Monster was the Dodge Caravan to Chrysler. I'd rather have the Monster than the Caravan, but this was the Hail Mary pass that pulled them out of the gutter. And for good reason. To me, it's hard not to love a bike where literally you should just tape your driver's license to the back of your helmet to make it easier for the police officer to take it away. That's how we're going to leave that one.
The Dodge Caravan of motorcycling.
Yes.
Brilliant wrap-up, Josh. And I will leave you
it.
with this. The Ducati Monster has always been a relatively approachable bike with a relatively approachable price tag, hence a lot of its success. This anniversary model that comes with a lot of really nice trim and bells and whistles on it, she is going to be a little bit pricier. The MSRP for this beautiful, beautiful bike is $18,995. Josh,
Still not
what do you have
bad.
going on for your second story? Still not bad. Still not bad. Not for an anniversary model with a bunch of bells and whistles slapped on it. That's actually not that bad.
I would take one. So I'm going to, once again, I'm in the tradition, we are going to stick with Ducati for this afternoon too. So Ducati is doing what they call the Ducati Dirty Dozen, and say that 5 times fast and see if you can get away with it. Worse off, the next part about it is, yeah, correct. It is doing 12 mountain passes all over 12,000 feet. And to me, that is just a ridiculous task. So they've done this out in Colorado. Like I said, 12 mountain passes all over 12,000 feet in Colorado. And all of those passes are listed as quote unquote off-road. Most of them they're not like highly maintained roads or anything like that. Ducati did a video on that and released it. If you do all 12, you get the sticker that you see on your screen. They're calling it a badge. I'm calling it a sticker. What you have to do is you have to take a picture of you and your bike at each one of the signs. And those are Black Bear Pass, Cinnamon Pass, Engineer Pass, Corkscrew Pass, Hurricane Pass, California Pass, Stony Divide Pass, Tin Cup Pass, Cumberland Pass, and Hancock Pass. Whew. If you take a picture at all 12 of those and put it on Instagram with the hashtag Ducati Dirty Dozen, they will send you the badge that you can put on your Desert X, because I'm assuming you're going to do this on a Desert X and probably not a Monster. The one thing that Ducati slipped in this video that I thought was very interesting is they showed a fair number of orange, green, and blue motorcycles on this, which is very, very unlike Ducati. They made the point of this saying all the bikes they saw were dual sports. They did not see any adventure bikes out, which I found very interesting in their marketing on this. So this was all created by Ducati North America CEO Jason Chinock. He lives in Colorado, so he's like, basically, yeah, let's go ride all 12 of these passes and make a sticker for it. To me, I think it's a great marketing idea. And if I was out in Colorado and had a Desert X Ducati, go ahead and send me one. I will make sure that I get that sticker. To me, I mean, what do you think, Jacqui? Good idea? I mean, this is the right thing to do.
Oh, for sure. I mean, why not? And I mean, if you live there and this is in your backyard, aren't you going to invite people to come and ride with you and ride in the beautiful part of Colorado that you live in? All jokes aside, I love stuff like this. I love kind of these experiential marketing moments that are going on more and more frequently now. I could see this for Desert X. I mean, I could see this for a couple of Ducati bikes, to be honest with you, but I feel like this is leaning into the Desert X very, very hard. It has been a really slam dunk success for them. I do have a couple of friends that do own that bike and speak incredibly highly of it. So why not celebrate a real like mold breaker bike for the folks at Ducati by having really excellent rides like this and catering to them? Every other OEM does it as well, including the folks at Harley Davidson with their massively huge and successful Pan America tours that have been going on for 2-3 years now, it feels like. They go to really cool locations all across the country and do stuff like this. So why would you not go ahead and celebrate those owners and give them something fun to accomplish and go and enjoy, and give them a little love for it? You're going to call it a sticker? I say it's a badge. Who knows? Maybe it's made of metal. We'll all have to wait and see. But bravo to the folks at Ducati. Our final two stories for today, keeping it all Italian over here on the tail end of today's show. As always, thanks for tuning in, everybody. We appreciate each and every one of you. I mentioned a show or two ago, we are creeping up on our 100th show anniversary. 2 years of programs out here, Josh. Who knew? Who knew I could put up with you this long? Oh, anyway,
I was wondering the same thing.
For the 100th anniversary, we do have a bunch of fun stuff planned. We've got we got a couple cool ideas that we're ping-ponging around for shows, and I have got an incredibly special guest who is going to be partaking in that show as well. I could not creep out the details about it as of yet, but it's very exciting, so make sure you go ahead, hit the notifications on, give us a like over on the Instagram, the Facebook, and over on our YouTube, and come on and enjoy the fun with us. Thanks again, everybody, for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week. Ride safe, everybody.